Welcome back to the Anti-Hero Squadcast. Thursday night is for the boys. Obviously, you can tell Brent is out of town. Is there an echo?
Not anymore.
Brent's out of town training knuckle draggers. So with me tonight, I have Reagan from Conduct Unbecoming, the Unbecoming podcast. And I've got Mike, formerly Copville, the artist formerly known as Copville.
Formerly known. You'd have to follow at Copville OG. I was nuked today by Instagram, so please follow the backup. Beautiful liberal stuff.
Yeah, check the anti-hero stories. Go give him a follow. He's got to build back better. So,
that's what we're doing.
We got a hell of a show tonight. We have Dan Crenshaw. He's waiting for us to call him, and of course, we the system we use. He has such a bad echo that he couldn't concentrate on. And I've been there. You cannot, when you hear yourself echoing on a 3-second delay, you can't concentrate on a conversation. So he's gonna call in. So it'll be the same thing. You just won't be able to see him talk. But yeah, he's gonna answer some questions. Wild topic in the last couple of days, wouldn't you say, Reagan?
Yeah, it's been crazy because you hear a lot from both sides of people's opinions. So, and they're strong. Everyone's got strong opinions. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to hear his side of it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, it seems to be a very one-sided opinion from everybody that's following, and so we're going to give him a chance to explain his side.
Yeah, the biggest thing is like everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to give a platform, blah blah blah." Like this is a platform. We've never once told anybody they can't come tell their story and their side of it. It started off with the whole Tucker Carlson thing, and obviously, it just every time Dan is in the news, good or bad, the Eddie Gallagher thing pops up.
Absolutely.
And Dan said it himself that he wants to address the Eddie issues. We've been talking with the Gallagher family about what their take is on it. And so we'll be able to compare the two. We'll ask Dan straight up questions that he's probably been asked a million times, but I wanted to give him the platform to be able to talk about the Tucker Carlson incident and then address his side of the Eddie Gallagher stuff.
And I think it's only appropriate. People say the anti-platform people, well, like, why not give somebody a chance to talk? Like, you have to hear their side of the story to get all of it. So,
Bravo Actual, Dan, what's your story with you almost beating up a 10-year-old girl? That did not happen. He was interrupted. I have seen that. Whether or not I think she questioned his faith or something like that in the middle of one of his things, and he kind of let her have it. But yeah. But he can see these, so I'm sure if he wants to answer it, he will. But yeah, we'll go. Hey, how's the picture looking?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I bet there's a conspiracy theory in there that this whole thing's probably set up, that he's not on.
Well, we could hear the feedback.
I can vouch for him that he could not possibly have done the interview live. It was impossible.
Yeah, we heard that.
That's why we were late.
Feedback and the screech. So,
yeah. I mean, without further ado, let's give Dan a call.
That's real convenient that you want to hear both sides given today and what's happened to you, huh?
Yeah.
Like you're like, I want everybody to have their side heard. I mean, given that you were canceled literally this morning. Was it this morning?
Yeah, I woke up to a text message from my business partner that said, "Are you dead?" Because he says the page is gone, and I'm like, my first morning I actually sleep till like 8 o'clock, and
dang, and you had 120,000 followers, 135, right? Yeah,
that is what it is.
Hey, Dan, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you joining us on this live. This very stressful week, it seems like, for you. Not stressful, but you're in the news a lot. But I feel like you're used to being in the news, man. You have very controversial opinions, and I can respect a lot of them. And so I really appreciate you coming on and telling your side of not your side, but you explaining what happened.
Yeah, happy to. Sorry we had technical difficulties. That's annoying. I was ready to go, but we'll get it done next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those weeks, as you said. Where do we begin? These news weeks with me often are like completely unexpected. I joke, like, I'm like, I want to trend one day because like I go out there and like I have a controversial thing to say and I need to say it. and I know it's going to just spin up a bunch of controversy, but that's never how it works. It's always like out of left field, like I didn't even mean it to happen kind of thing, which is sort of what this week was like. It was just honestly kind of dumb. I think it was dumb.
I talked to you offline. I mentioned the fact that I don't agree with off the record. I mean, that's not even off the record. That's almost an expectation of privacy. Now, granted, some people would say he had cameras on him, so he knows that but at the end of the day, I would expect that, there'd be some kind of privacy in what was said. And also, we talked about this. Obviously, that doesn't meet the criteria of a threat at all. That is locker room talk.
We would all be.
Dude, like, remove my man card if that's how I'm threatening. Like, that's the lamest. It's the lamest threat. And yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, like you said, the journalistic integrity in Britain is clearly not the same. That would never happen on an American network. I mean, it would happen with, your typical citizen journalist just, shoving a phone in your face. That happens a lot, right? Like there's they don't abide by any rules. They don't care. They're just looking for clicks, see what kind of reaction they can get from you. But that was like a real network. So a little surprising there. I hope they lose a lot of credibility. I don't think anybody should ever do a news interview with the GB News in London. But in any case, it happens, so whatever. But then, so I see that start to percolate online, like this reporter who clearly wasn't getting enough traction from the actual interview. He was trying to bait me on Tucker Carlson the whole time. I mean, trying to get me to fight about Tucker Carlson the whole interview. I never brought up Tucker. He just keeps asking about it. And I'm like, so okay, interview's done. And then I see him quoting me with this, kind of salacious quote. And I'm like, oh, what the hell is this? I don't even remember doing this interview. I was being pulled in really different directions. I was at the Jordan Peterson ARC conference. I was jet lagged. So I just responded to Marjorie Taylor Greene because she loves her clicks. And she's like, are you threatening my friend Tucker? I'm like, LOL. No, that's not a threat. And they're like, well, we have a video. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, what did I say? God damn it. And but I watched the video and it's lame. The video's lame. Mm-hmm. And for the record, no, I would not kill Tucker Carlson if I saw him.
What is there? I mean, other than I don't want to say bad blood, but the issue with Tucker Carlson, is that just because he questions you on your insider trading? Is that the only thing between you and him?
Oh no, you can say bad blood. Bad blood would be an understatement. I mean, I truly hate the guy, but I just don't. I'm not actually going to kill him. I don't first degree murder hate him.
Yeah.
But no. So this started in 2022 when he just kind of did one of his, back when he was still on Fox, did just this random monologue one day, just trashing me for no reason in particular. It had to do with Ukraine aid, but he made this is the usual thing he does. He'll never even tell the audience why I'm wrong, why he disagrees with me. He'll never give the audience look, this is what Dan believes, this is why I think he's wrong. He'll never do that. He'll just say, I patched McCain. So that's where it all started 3 years ago. I mean,
oh, wow.
It was, if you've heard the term I patched McCain, that came from Tucker. And it was just super insulting. It's like, wait a second, Tucker. I recall when Pete Davidson came after me talking about my war wounds and how offended you were on my behalf. I remember that, but it's fine when you do it, right? And then on about a monthly basis ever since then, he would do the same thing, just insult me, come after me. So, I mean, it's called me sinister, it's called me all sorts of names. I mean, all the time. I mean, I only started responding to Tucker probably in the last year or so, just kind of going right back at him. And so that's where it comes from. I mean, it's just these trading hatred for each other. And that's, and he asked me on an interview, I'm like, I have no respect for you. And you have no respect for me. Why would we interview together? It says there's no benefit to that. It's not a good faith conversation. So, we should leave it at that.
So yeah, there's going to be no sit down between you and Tucker.
No, no. You know, we had thrown out the idea back at him about like a third party moderator kind of thing. But he did not want to do that. So okay.
Is there with the whole? Well, I mean, I know we wanted to talk about a couple things, just hot button things that everybody has already talked about. The insider trading thing. I don't know anything about anything of that nature, but I mean, I do agree with some things that you said. Like, so I'm a politician, therefore I have no ability to make money. Who's going to run for office in the future? I agree with that. You know, if so. I'm a cop. I'm a government salary. I can literally tell you how much I'm going to make in the next 10 years every single year, but I'm allowed to have other ventures where I can make a lot more money.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, I've said that. And then, like, that's, you know, because I'm trying to get people to think about it as opposed to just assuming that because we're in Congress, we somehow have access to a bunch of insider knowledge. That's just not true. I mean, you'd be much more frightened about what congressmen don't know than what they do know. Now, does that mean that every once in a while, some leadership, especially, you know, this is like the famous case of Pelosi, where she was working on something very specific and it was like leadership only kind of knew about it. And then there was some very, I guess, suspicious trade timing on certain stocks, right? That's what people point to. And look, maybe there is something there. I will tell you this: the FBI would love to nab a congressman for insider trading. It would be a career maker for them. First of all, second of all, if you're going to accuse me of insider trading, I have to be trading. And so the funny part about this particular accusation against me is, it's so weird because I'm by far one of the least rich members of Congress. So it's always been a strange one to me, and it particularly offends me precisely because I'm not one of the rich members of Congress. If I was one of the rich members of Congress, I'd at least be like, well, I'm rich, you know, but I'm not. I actually, as you were talking, I just pulled up my brokerage account. I have $24,000 in there.
Okay,
that's always what it's been my entire time in Congress.
That's the part where people. I know I mutually hate Dan. What's his name from Drinking Bros? What's his name? Dan Holloway. He's the one that I mean, I think you took out a lawsuit against them for lying, but he was the one that went on.
Threatened to, yeah.
He said that it's significantly more than what you said.
He has no idea what he's talking about. And I put out a long letter to my email list to finally address this. I mean, a lot of this crap we just ignore. And eventually you just have to address it because it just percolates. And my name is like clickbait. I mean, why did this British reporter do this? Because it's Dan Crenshaw. If it was some other random congressman, he knows it wouldn't get the traction, so he doesn't do it. I mean, look, like I'm getting more traction for this nonsense and more trending than another congressman who had like this whole scandal last week where his a police report because he had assaulted his mistress who he was cheating on with his wife with. So, I mean, that didn't even get the kind of play that like my silly Tucker Carlson thing does. So people know that. The trolls online know that. They know that my name is clickbait and they act accordingly. And that's kind of what this is. I mean, like it's now what I can explain this in a little more detail if you'd like. I personally think it's boring, but this is what I put in this letter a while back. When you look at congressmen's trades, you have to understand how we report it. So the only reason you even know I have any trades is because I report it, first of all. And the way the system is, you check boxes and it asks you to check a box. Did you buy, it asks you to say what stock you bought. And then it asks you to check a box on a range of value. So it's the first check is $1,000 to $15,000. So if it's under $1,000, you don't even report it. If it's between $1,000 and $15,000, you report it. So I check that box. But the thing is people then go assuming that it's at the maximum range, the end of that range. So you could, in theory, you could theorize that it's hundreds of thousands of dollars more than it actually is. But again, like I could just show you my actual stock trades. And I haven't, one I buy and hold. So again, I'm not sure how I can be insider trading if I'm not trading. Last time I bought these stocks was 2021.
Is it?
So
I mean, and it's hard because without asking you personal financial questions that you absolutely could say, I'm not going to talk about my finances with you. People have told us that you're $8 million. You're,
yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
your net worth. So it's not 8 million.
It's definitely not 8 million. No, it's definitely not 8 million.
And you're saying there's no way somebody
my
like
net worth is probably about in line with somebody who retired from the military, was smart with their finances,
and,
bought real estate, just like I mean, that's, and I also wrote a best-selling book, so like that helps too. But by no stretch am I a millionaire.
as a congressman, real quick, as a congressman though, there's no way, and again, speaking from people making accusations, there's no way you would have insider knowledge of what's going to happen with a certain company based on your position, and then maybe have other accounts or other people's names attached to them where you could be making money and not in your name. I mean, obviously, your name is your name, and everybody's going to look at it. But there's people making accusations that you bought Meta at a very, very low point and at its lowest, and then it skyrockets. And again, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying what people say, and then all of a sudden, you start, TikTok starts getting banned, and that ban's coming up, and now Meta starts taking off, and there's people saying that you knew to buy low and then to bash TikTok, and then it goes up.
I mean, we don't. All I can tell you is no. Can people break the law? Yeah, people can break the law. I mean, there's a few congressmen who were caught trying to sell gold bars that they got from Egypt. So people can break the law, yes, and then they get caught. But you know how many shares I have of Meta? 10. I have 10 shares. I've had 10 shares for years. Like and again, this is all public. It's like,
and again, I'm not accusing you of anything, but is it possible like that somebody could have other accounts or other and stuff, family members, stuff like that, where maybe they're making more money than they report?
It's of course possible for someone to break the law.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
and you're not breaking the law in any way.
I'm not breaking the law in any way.
Okay.
And yeah, of course it's possible, and people get caught for insider trading, and then they're caught. But it's I mean, you'd have to, I tell people, if you're going to accuse me of breaking the law like Dan Holloway did, well, then you better be able to prove it. Otherwise, I'm going to sue you for defamation. And that's what happened with Dan Holloway. I mean, I didn't sue him. I sent him a cease and desist letter because they were making very specific accusations. So they were making specific accusations of me buying stocks I've actually never bought and buying them right after according to him, my committee did a contract with Raytheon. Now, the funny thing about that accusation is I've never bought Raytheon, and also committees don't do contracts. That's just not how contracts work in the U.S. government. So we had him dead to rights on a defamation case, and they actually had to retract it on their next podcast. But yeah, he's a jerk off. I mean, like people just do this for clicks. And that's
why do you think those specific things like your insider trading, and why make those specific numbers up? Like people like somebody's seen it or has knowledge of it. Why do you think those numbers seem to be very consistent across the board about how much and what you bought and when you got rid of it, or how you got a hold of it?
I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess again, when you look, so there's certain programs that people use to try and ascertain like how congressmen are doing, with respect to the stock market, but they only look at percentages. It's like, oh my God, he had a 40% gain. And that puts me at like number 25 in the members of Congress, by the way. But nobody talks about the first 24 because they're not clickbait. I'm clickbait. So they're like, oh, Dan Crenshaw again, he's making all this money. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll show you my brokerage account, how much money I made. My entire value of the entire brokerage account is $24,000. And that's been consistent ever since I've been in Congress. Yeah. I wish it were in the millions. I wish that. I mean, my biggest crime is probably not investing more because I buy at the dip. It's just smart financial decision making, but it has nothing to do with insider trading. And if people should can come and see what we do every single day and what kind of knowledge we get about companies. We don't get any insider knowledge on companies. We just don't. We don't need it. We don't. It's not necessarily useful for our legislation. People on Wall Street have way more information. Way more. I mean, they're studying it every single day. So it's one of these things. It's like, look, if it makes the public feel better, then let's make it illegal to have stock trades.
Why do you think they come after?
I've said before, I'm in favor of that. Just ban it so we don't have to deal with it.
Why do you think it's you? Why do you think they come after you specifically?
He's in favor of banning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to ban? You're saying you should ban everybody from Congress, anybody in the government should be banned from trading?
Yeah, I've said I'm in favor of that. Like, if that came to the floor, I'd vote for it.
Idea.
Yeah, why not? I mean, like I said, I have such little skin in the game, contrary to popular belief. But again, the reason they come after me, I think I've answered the question, is because it's going to get you more clicks if you start screaming about it online. It just is. Because if you start screaming about random other congressmen who are like number one beating the market and having like the highest amount of gains, well, but if nobody really knows their name, they're really not worth yelling about on Twitter. It doesn't get you any engagement. That's the reality. So that's the best explanation I can come up with. I mean, I got a lot of haters, and haters are going to look for whatever they can find in order to just make your name trend, because in the end, they don't really have anything.
What do you think resonates those haters? I mean, as a war veteran, military service member, like usually, very, looked good upon. Like people usually support a congressman that's been through what you've been through. Why do you specifically think people are coming after you with these statements that are all, you're saying everything they're saying is untrue?
I don't know, man. I have a special ability to make the Twitter trolls lose their minds, if you haven't noticed. I have a real special ability to do that. This probably dates back years. I mean, one reason, first of all, this all came from the far left, right? This is all of these attacks originate from the far left. So it's that should be obvious why they come after me, because I'm an effective warrior against far left ideology. I go on liberal shows. I destroy their arguments. They know I'm an effective fighter. Of course, they're going to try and take me down. Now, that has been adopted by the woke right. I call them the woke right because, well, they're really not that much different than the woke left. They're kind of single variable analysis type of people. They're in it for the click engagement. They're not really principled. They're snowflakes, just like the far left is. If you criticize them, which I often do, which also gets to your answer to your question, because I criticize them. I call them out. So I'm dangerous to them because I have a platform to call people out. And so they react. And that's kind of been going on for years. There's been this sort of war with me and that sort of fringe that mostly lives on Twitter.
Well, when did you first start becoming clickbait? When do you think you became that title that you keep using that? So when do you think you became that? What year, what time frame was it? Because Tucker Carlson, he says he absolutely hates you. So I just want to know, like, what brings him to that point? Like, I don't obviously know anything about Tucker, but like, what brings someone to that point to say, "Oh, I absolutely hate him"? And for the record, I don't think that you called for his death or anything. I think that's a silly argument. So, but what brings him to that point to say that he just absolutely despises you?
I mean, the fact that you don't know the answer is kind of telling, isn't it? Because he never says. He just insults me. He hates me. He calls me a liberal, and it's like, but he never has any reason. And that's telling in and of itself. And that's the same across the board. I remember talking to one of you guys offline before, and you were like, you said you did a deep dive into like Reddit and all these places, trying to figure out like what the issue is that people are mad about. And it was really hard to find one.
Yeah.
Because there isn't really one.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's weird. And it's become sort of a bandwagon to jump on.
But
like
when did it become clickbait? Like when did?
I wish there was a better answer than that. I wish politics was taken more seriously than that, but it's not. And that's, we live in the Jerry Springering of politics. It's not good. People are looking for that like WWF match and that Jerry Springer fight in their politics, as opposed to like substantive areas to disagree and debate on. That's
I mean, yeah,
true.
Yeah, I mean, but it is good. I don't want to say good. It's good for me. I mean, like when I got it, you said, to be fair, you did say you had no idea who you're talking to, but man, you called me fat. And then we talked on the phone and you were like, "Oh, that was you. I didn't even know." So, but it is good. I mean, it's good. I don't know if it's good for politics, I guess is a fair statement, but
But why does he become so hated? I don't understand. Like he's a Navy SEAL veteran. The entire veteran community despises Dan.
Yeah.
But so my question is why? Like, what makes someone get to that point? And like, you'd think he would be the complete opposite, you know? So what brought him there, I guess?
Dan, you really don't know when, you know, because you do have a lot of haters.
Yeah, I got a lot of haters. I mean, it's a vast overstatement to say the entire veteran community despises me. Maybe like the online like vet bro.
Maybe that's true.
Types, but
The bro vets.
The bro vets.
Yeah, I mean, I have zero public interactions that are negative. Zero.
Okay.
I have 1,000 veterans in a month coming up to me, you know, thanking me, saying what's up.
Well,
like,
I'm going to get it.
I still go back to the SEAL teams pretty consistently, going back next week. So to say I have haters in that community is a vastly overblown statement, because luckily there's the online world and there's the real world. The real world, none of this. People don't even notice the shit's going on.
I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of it, because you said you had you had zero negative encounters. What was the deal with, and I've only seen this once, and I'm legitimately asking you because it's kind of hard to hear in the video, with the little girl. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that one. So that was at a Montgomery County. I represent Montgomery County and Harris County. That was at a Montgomery County Tea Party event, and you know, they're known to kind of be riled up and really come after you. That was not a little girl. That was an adult.
Okay.
She was the online haters wanted to call her a little girl. She wasn't. She worked for my opponent who was running against me, and accused me of not believing in Jesus Christ. I was like,
I did hear that.
I don't know. I remember what my words were exactly, but I didn't like that very much. So I was like, anyway, she wasn't a little girl.
Okay.
That's more like a town hall event, right? Where everyone is just getting on a microphone just to yell at you. Like that's sort of how those go.
Okay.
I'm talking about in like real life, normal life. I'm at the airport. I'm out at a bar. Like I've had zero. Like it's just the real world is very different than the political activist / online world. It just is. And that's a good thing. I tell people all the time who are like freaked out about politics. I'm like, you need to take a break from being online for a month and just go hang out with normal people, and you'll quickly realize you're not losing your country. Normal people are normal. And that's my experience with normal people. And here back in the district. I mean, so yeah, she was not a little girl. That was always a lie.
That's interesting. Before we get into the main topic, obviously, which is Eddie Gallagher, some people are asking, what is your stance on Tim Kennedy appearing like he would like to enter the political sphere? Do you have any take on that, or do you have any insight on that?
Neither, really. I know him. I don't know him well. I know you guys did your whole thing on him. He's always been nice to me. I haven't heard that he wants to get into politics. That's the first I've heard of that.
Okay.
I don't know what that would look like.
I don't know what that would look like either. Moving on to the topic with you of the night, and again, I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate you calling in. We've said it. You know, there's very few politicians will join a live on YouTube.
Yeah,
that's not
ballsy, bro.
That's not scripted. That's
awesome.
Not. I will tell everybody, we did not send back. There was no template sent back and forth. There was no outline. You just called in. So.
Well, I want to answer actually more specifically your question. Where did it all start? I actually will give you a moment in time, and then we'll get to the Eddie Gallagher things. That'll be fun. But so actually, it was just over 2 years ago. Morgan Luttrell, Marcus Luttrell's brother, was running in the district next to mine. I'm a big supporter of him. And his opponent, who used to work for me, has no experience in life except for being campaign manager. He's a sleazy person, but he's a clever one. And they knew that the only way to take down Morgan Luttrell, who had no record, he'd never been in politics, so it's hard to have an attack ad against Luttrell. But what they did was, let's try and have attack ads against Dan, because he's his biggest backer. And so what they did is they got one of their donors, this guy named Robert Marling, to spend about $1 million. And they paid these kind of online trolls, like Alex Bruszewitz, for instance. Like it was his firm. He's one of these. He's one of these who's always instigating against me. And it all started because he was paid to do it. Ironically, paid a lot of money, and then this guy also took $25,000 in PPP loans during COVID. He hates it when people bring that up. And so I'm not bringing it up. I'm just saying he hates it when people bring it up. But so that was, I think, the start of the online right realizing that, wow, Dan Crenshaw gets a lot of clickbait because people like to take down heroes. They're like, we loved this guy. He's so good at destroying the left. Like, we loved him, but we also love to hate people that we love, don't we? And that's an unfortunate reality on the right. It's a cultural issue. We have a name for it. We call it rhino hunting. We love to do it. Like, we love to find traitors in our midst. And even if we can't find anything substantive, which they never can on me, because everything gets debunked, right? It's like, well, he yelled at a little girl. Well, it turns out she's not a little girl at all. It turns out she was a campaign operative for my opponent. Oh, well, he voted for red flag laws. Well, actually, turns out I did the opposite. I've introduced anti-red flag law legislation. Well, he's part of the World Economic Forum. It turns out that's just so far from the truth. It's not even a little shred of truth to it. Like the list of conspiracies goes on. And then there's another one. Well, he tried to keep Eddie Gallagher in jail. Like, it's like, I'm the only one who tried to help him. And then I sent you guys this really long document that brings all the receipts on exactly how that actually happened. So it's a strange phenomenon that occurs, but it's been occurring mostly in the last couple of years, and I can probably trace it back to that particular race.
All right, and actually, before we get to Eddie Gallagher, another hot button issue we have from one of our supporters is, will you commit to looking into the suspicious death of SEAL Team 4 Commander Joe Price, who was found dead in his bunk with a single gunshot wound to his head? There's new forensic evidence proves that he was murdered. Do you have any take on that?
I don't have a take. I mean, the first I've heard that this was, I heard about it from your podcast. I asked, and then I went back to Virginia Beach for New Year's, and I was asking around about this. I would look into it if there's evidence. Now, we don't have any power to look into it. That's an executive branch function. But Price is an amazing reputation. Everybody loved him. I think people don't want to believe what happened. I have another good friend who killed himself a couple of years ago, Robert Ramirez, and he had just taken command of SEAL Team 1. Happiest guy. Like, I mean, this funny story that his family likes to tell, where like I snuck my eyeball into his shot glass at like his wedding down party, and he took it and almost choked on it. He didn't see the eye. Like, he was just a great guy and like an awesome family, and was like at the height of his career, just taking command, and it was like completely inexplicable. And kind of the same thing. We're like, no way this actually happened. Like, but it did. I mean, I don't want to believe it either. But I don't know any of the details about the Price case. But look, if people give them to me, yeah, we'll send them to the right people who could investigate it. I'd have no problem doing that.
All right. So yeah, to the topic of the evening, Eddie Gallagher. So you went on John Burke's show last night. Great interview. Go check out John Burke, everybody. He's been on the show. And you mentioned the fact that, you wanted to address Eddie Gallagher's things on here. So I was going to let you start with it. And then, anything that we had to ask you or debate, I was going to go after you.
Sure. I mean, this is one of those things I've been ignoring for years because it's so dumb. But enough people start to believe it and message me about it. And, it's one of those things, kind of like the stock trading BS. Like, eventually it percolates throughout the internet sphere and I have to address it. So I'm going to address it. And Eddie's not going to like it. Also worth noting that the reason he came out with this accusation, let's just summarize what his accusation against me is. His accusation against me is very simple. I refused to help him and I tried to keep him in jail. That's quite an accusation, first of all. So I'm like, okay, that's a little odd, because I remember spending quite a bit of my time, having just started my career in Congress, because this goes all the way back to my first term. I mean, this is like February of 2019. We start getting we start getting emails from Eddie's brother. So Eddie's brother is a former lobbyist, so he kind of knew how to work the Hill. And what I sent you guys is this long document that covers every single interaction and every single email that we had with Eddie's family, Eddie's brother and Eddie's wife. It culminates in a letter that I personally worked on and got signed on and made sure that the right people signed on to it. People like Matt Thornberry, who was the ranking member of HASC, the House Armed Services Committee, because that's important. If you're going to send a letter to the administration asking them to do something, you need the right people on it so that they actually take it seriously. I had people like Jim Jordan on it, head of judiciary. Those are the two main ones. And the only disagreement between us and the Gallagher family was they wanted a different letter. They wanted a letter that just said free Eddie. And we were like, hey, we've done our research on this. It's not going to work. They're going to ignore it. Like, do you want us to just have like a show of force for Eddie, or do you want us to like actually help him? Because what we can do, and what we think the DOD will do, is improve his conditions. That's what we think we can accomplish, and that's coming from the Legislative Council and the committee. That's coming from the lawyers at DOD. Like, we're actually doing our homework so that we can have an effect. And they're like, no, we want everybody to sign on the other letter that says that just frees him. I'm like, okay, well, so, and they even admitted, and I have this in writing, like at one point, they're like, they even admit, like, yeah, no, we just want it for show. We know it's not going to do anything. And I'm like, well, I'm not in this just for show. I'm in it to actually have an effect and actually help him. And so we end up doing that. And it turns out, like, my letter gets sent to the administration, the Trump administration. We do a big, we combine it with a media hit as well. We get Fox to write a story about it, like, hey, this is happening. This is unfair. He's being treated unfairly in the brig. And lo and behold, not only days later, what does Trump do? Exactly what our letter asked him to do, which was change his confinement to something less restrictive. So I'm just like, how the hell does any of that mean I tried to keep you in jail and refuse to help you? We spent massive amounts of time helping them. And so for him to come out and make those accusations was just so far out of left field. And I can tell you probably why he did it, because you got to look at the timing of when he made that video. The timing of that video was like a week after me and David Goggins had gone at it. Now, David Goggins was mad at me for all sorts of random reasons, and he made a bunch of accusations, said a bunch of terrible things about me. I think he said derogatory things about, and maybe not on purpose, but he did it, about Mike Day. He said derogatory things about SEAL Team 6, all these guys who can't defend themselves. Mike Day couldn't defend himself because he had just committed suicide. Guys at SEAL Team 6 can't defend themselves because they're active duty. And so I did a whole video just debunking David Goggins and kind of destroying him.
So, one second. I read everything you're talking about, and again, I understand what you're saying as far as the way you went about it, but as a family who's grieving and somebody who was a hero, as you were in his position, I would think, and I've read your letter, you'd never ask for him to be released. And I'm not saying just write a letter that says free Eddie, but the family made it pretty clear from what I've read that one of the major points they wanted across was they wanted him home. I don't think he's a flight risk. I don't think he's a risk to take off anywhere. He's a very famous person. And as a family whose spouse and dad and everybody's living in these nasty conditions, they made it pretty clear that they wanted you to ask them to release him. And nowhere in that letter did you ask. Well, yeah, but I mean, again, you're trying to help the family, and I understand you're attacking it from a certain point, but
we're attacking it from a realistic point. They wanted something that they knew wasn't going to happen. And I'll tell you, here's something that a lot of people don't know either. We talked to the command. and like, hey, like, what's the deal? Because I did so much on Eddie's behalf. I saw a lot of the evidence, and I was taking Eddie's side on all of this. But I also live in reality. I know how the judicial system works. You're accused of first-degree murder. The command told us that he had threatened his accusers, so there was zero chance that he was going to just be let out on bail. I understand that's what the family wants. I'm sure that's what my family would be asking for as well. But in my position, I'm supposed to do what's realistic and what's right.
But do you think, if you felt strongly about he was being mistreated, you don't think it was important to throw your weight into that he should be released, even if it's, again, the family? I understand you can't just let
I did get him released. I did get him released.
That's debatable.
Into much. No, it's not debatable. It's exactly what happened.
Okay.
And he was released into much more improved conditions. Trump did exactly what we asked him to do.
Well, the family has a different take on how that went down. So,
well, you can have a different take, but I brought all the receipts.
Okay. Well,
I mean, he just makes these sort of wispy acts, these vague accusations. But I've sent you guys every single conversation we had and every single email that was sent, including the quotes from the family thanking us for what we did for them. And so it's kind of weird years later to see it all change. And again, this goes back to why did it change? And it changed because I think Eddie just wanted me to make a video about him. I think that's what it was, because it came out a week after I did the Goggins video. And I didn't make a video about him. I never even addressed it. This is the first time I'm even addressing it. Because again, it's become too public. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll tell you my side of the story.
What was the Goggins video?
The story is we did everything we could to help him. I understand the family wanted me to instead somehow create a miracle and get him released, but you're not getting released when you're on first-degree murder charges. You're just not.
Hey.
And so that's the reality we live in a judicial process that, by the way, Congress has no control over.
Well, I guess the family said that you would not sign the petition that they wanted you to sign. They didn't want 2 letters circulating, and you refused to sign the one that they asked for.
I wanted the letter that I told them that we were going to use, and that's true. But like, is that their best argument? I mean, because my letter is the one that actually ended up helping them. I guess what I'm saying on Fox News and actually working.
I guess what I'm saying is so right, wrong, or indifferent. You could have said, "Okay, I'll do what you want," but you didn't. You said, "I'm going to do what I want." Again, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying that if you were doing it because you knew what was best and you know the game, or how easy would it have been easier?
And I'm not going to apologize for that. It's ridiculous. I mean, because let's also take a step back on like looking at this situation. You're also operating off an assumption that we just know that all of these guys, his own guys, accusing Eddie, are just all a bunch of liars. Maybe they ended up being liars, but this is a seal on seal.
Why can't he do both?
That they're asking me to arbitrate, but I'm not a judge.
Sign the
I don't
petition
have access to all the evidence
and do his part.
I'm not part of the judicial system. You know what I mean? Like, what my role here was looking at this and saying, okay, but he isn't being treated fairly. He's not. It appears like he's not getting access to the things he should get access to. That we can write the administration and actually make a change on.
Well, why not do both? Why not do both? The family. I mean, again,
because I don't do things for show.
It's not for show. I mean, you have a family that is grieving.
They knew it was for show. They knew it was for show.
So
they had admitted knowing that it would be for show.
But again, they're the family, and I don't think it's for show. I mean, I would want him home too. And
what about the families of the guys who he was threatening, who were his accusers? What about them? Do they not?
So you think he should have stayed in jail then? I mean, is that what you're saying now?
Those are also team guys. Those are also team guys.
So who do you believe?
Worked under them. It's not my job to believe any of them. It's my job to look at a situation and say, you're not getting proper treatment, and I think you should be getting proper treatment. But it's not my job to be the judge. But I'm not part of the jury. I'm not the judge.
I agree, but you took it far enough to get involved and write a letter. But the family was specific,
which I had no obligation to do anyway. Like, so I mean, like we did all of this for him, and you're like, well, it's not enough.
I didn't say it wasn't enough.
You didn't. You are saying that.
No,
It's like I'm not sure.
It sounds like there was, well, again, because it's not your family. So I saw the letter you wrote. You wrote it, but again,
it's an emotional argument.
That seems very one minor thing to say. Maybe he should be released. I don't think he's a flight risk. I mean, the Texas just had a cop killer get in your state. They had a cop killer get a bond for $1 million bond that killed a cop in July. And they let him walk out of jail, and then you got a guy accused of the same crime.
He just said he'd kill Tucker Carlson.
No, that's different.
Anything.
But so it's to me, it's like I get what you're saying. You tacked it your way, but I think the family had some. I think should had some input.
I should just
not all
of it.
Not all of it.
And just go with it.
There was one key piece missing was them saying you wouldn't go out on the line to say he should be released. And then to me, you guys are almost on the same page with the letters. It's just that little part that they asked for you to say he should be released and you wouldn't say it. And I just, again, as a family,
neither would the people who actually, Matt, that's why I mentioned the chairman.
Well, I was told, and I'm not going to mention their names, but I was told people in Congress, a representative from Florida, actually would go and wanted him released, and they approached you about it.
There was a letter with people on it, and again, that letter would be ignored by the Department of Defense.
But what would it hurt?
So there was no point to it. I mean, if your point is you should have just made the family feel better.
I'm not saying feel better.
But that wasn't my objective. My objective was not to make people feel better. My objective was to actually take action that would be effective and helpful to Eddie, and that's what I succeeded in doing. Mm-hmm. And so for him to accuse me of doing the complete opposite.
Why do you think if he feels like and the family feels like you did everything right, you keep using the word feeling, and that's exactly the right word to be using. Okay, so why do you think that they think you didn't do it? Why do you think they think you did them wrong? Like if you did everything to get them out of jail or get him moved, and you did everything that was perfect, and they thanked you for it, what is the reason that you think they now have this beef with you?
Because I think Eddie, years later, who makes a living off of basically notoriety, saw me do a video on David Goggins and wanted me to do a video on him because all press for a guy like that is good press.
I think Eddie Gallagher's he's a popular enough guy that I don't think he doesn't need that.
He's not that petty.
I disagree. I mean, then why does he keep doing it? And like David Goggins, you put David Goggins in that category. David Goggins didn't come after me for clicks. He's got enough followers.
It seems like, again, I'm just from following everybody on Instagram. Eddie seems like he's got a good family, good life going on. He's not in jail. I don't know why he would need notoriety. But why would he need notoriety to come after Dan Crenshaw?
Then you should ask him these questions because I gave you all the receipts here. Like his accusations against me are so far afield. Like you're trying to get me to explain his reasoning. I don't know. I just know it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, what people are upset about, and I'll say it, is that a SEAL brethren didn't, make sure that a SEAL brethren was taken out of custody, out of jail. And I think
is that our standard? I mean,
who was innocent?
Think of objectively what you're saying here.
A SEAL brother that was innocent.
I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury. I don't have the facts of the case. I'm not his lawyer. Like, you're just assuming that I should just count all of the other SEALs in his platoon who accused him. Like, you have to back up here a second and be like, okay, how many times have I seen a SEAL leader, he was the chief of that platoon, get accused by like 4 of his guys on something so egregious as a war crime? Like, so I'm just supposed to ignore that part of it? I don't know what's going on here. Like, I don't know the truth about what's going on. The only thing I know is what his brother is telling me. And even then, even when I made a lot of calls to the teams in those days, and I had to call so many guys just to find 1 or 2 who would be like, I know Eddie, you should help him. And I was like, all right, I'll help him. Everybody else was like, stay away from this one. He's a loose cannon. And there's a lot to this that we don't know. That's what everybody in the actual teams was saying. And then I call the command and they're like, yeah, what the other thing you don't know is that he's threatened his accusers, which is also why we're never going to like just let him out on bond. And so knowing these things, like, it's a really weird expectation to have that I would just like, no, he should be free. because I know better than everybody else. Even though I don't. Like, that's a really weird expectation to have. I mean, that's like saying, hey, Tim Kennedy is a fellow SF guy. Well, then why would you do this debunking thing on him? He's one of your guys. Like, why would you do that? It's just the same logic.
Handle it.
Yeah, I guess, when it looks bad when all the other congressmen agreed to.
It's not all the other congressmen, so that's also just a lie. There's a small group of them.
50.
But the letter that actually worked, that had the leadership on it, because look, leadership is going to take a letter more seriously. Your random run-of-the-mill congressmen are going to be like, oh yeah, this guy seems popular right now. Yeah, I'll sign the letter. That's how they look at it. I don't do things that way. I take things seriously. And I also want things to be effective. And that's why, again, there was no way we were going to get anywhere if we didn't get the chairman of Armed Services Committee to actually sign it, which I did. The amount of work I put into actually getting the right people to sign this letter and then get it on Trump's radar and get it on Fox News's radar and then be successful in getting him out, to accuse me of not doing enough is it's so wild to me that this is an accusation or even a conversation we're having.
Yeah, and I really honestly think it just boils down to not opinions, but you've made your point, and I don't think you're going to budge on it. I don't foresee you ever saying yeah, maybe I should have. Now looking back, pressed to have him out
because it would have been irresponsible because I didn't have the facts. You can't. I just and I didn't have the power.
Be willing to
and it's why I don't like sending letters. We do letters all the time in Congress, and I'm like, look. I don't like doing them if they're not well written and they don't have a chance at having some effect. You actually put some effort into getting the right people on them so that the person you're sending it to in the administration might actually listen. That's a key component of legislating and doing oversight in Congress. And so, and again, they knew it. I'm like, they admitted it to us. We know this we know this other letter doesn't mean anything. It won't work, but we don't care. I'm like, well, I care. I thought the goal here was to help him.
Yeah,
why not just sit down with them and have that conversation? And just to squash it, because it's always going to be this back and forth. It's going to continue after tonight. It's going to continue. Why not just sit down with them and have the conversation? I believe he said he's talked to you before, asked to have a sit down conversation with you. So why not just squash it that way? So there's what's that?
He's never reached out to me. The only thing he's ever done is put out this very vague video about how bad a person I am. He rambles on for 20 minutes. I have a whole Word document with every single detail. So that's the end of the conversation.
So you would be down to sit down and have a conversation with him? Or
about what? Why? I don't know. Why? I don't really see the point.
it's just a yes or no. If you want to or don't want to, it's fine.
If you want
to slandering me publicly for years is not a good premise for me to sit down with you. It's for me, this has been over and done with for so long.
Yeah.
It's silly and pointless.
That's a
and he just keeps it going. So I was like, all right. Told my staff, I'm like, get every email that we get, every interaction we had with them. Let's do a timeline. And I posted it on my website. I tweeted it yesterday too. So this is available on my website.
And again, I'm going to play this side. I was 23 years law enforcement. When somebody doesn't want to face somebody, sit down and talk to them, to me, and I'm not saying it sounds like they're hiding something or they don't want to face that person. Why wouldn't you want to sit down with the actual person and talk to the actual person that is saying these things instead of hiding behind it? It's not clickbait. Why not private? Do it privately.
Important things to do.
You say you're clickbait. You say you're clickbait.
I have a job that's way more important than sitting down with Eddie Gallagher.
But you guys were SEALs. You guys were in the same war and the same fight. So why wouldn't you want to?
This is a new thing in my life. This is not a big thing in my life.
This is two guys walking around.
This is the first time I've even talked about it.
This is two guys walking around an office that completely hate each other, that refuse to talk to each other, and it causes a toxic environment within everything. This is obviously eating up the press. People are talking about it, and I don't understand what you guys what you guys both did. Why you wouldn't just face him and sit down and be like, dude, this isn't what happened. Let me tell you face to face what happened.
He's never asked. This idea that he's been asking to sit down with me is also false. He made this other accusation that he tried to talk to me at some event, and I refused to talk to him. And
he told me
a lie.
He said you took off and you wouldn't face him. That's what I was told.
Yeah, that's just a lie.
So everybody so far tonight, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Everything we have said, you have said is false. So every statement about you on earth is false. Not one thing that anybody said about you seems to be accurate. And
the ones we've addressed. I mean, you can find something find me something that isn't. And I'll tell you whether it's true or not. But it's he never approached me at some event. I think it was a Turning Point event. He claims that he came up to me or something. It's just not true. I mean, find me a witness if it's true. Like, it's just none of this shit's true.
None of it.
Not
one thing.
Well, that's not true. I'm not saying not one thing. I don't know. I mean,
okay.
everything I've talked about.
I just know, like I said, in my job, in my career, if somebody was on me about multiple things, like everything is about me, I would want to address those people and not just be like,
I am addressing it. I'm addressing it. I chose your podcast in particular to address it on.
Well, and we appreciate it. And but I would say, like, you know, that you guys.
But you're asking,
it would just squash all of it if they were able to sit down.
I think I have a different lifestyle than I do. You know, I chair the Defense Intel Subcommittee, so I have to figure out the budget for the entire Defense Intelligence Enterprise. I'm on Energy and Commerce, 2 committees. We have $880 billion of savings to find in Medicaid for reconciliation, so that Trump can get the tax cuts through. We have a budget that needs to be done in 2 weeks. I'm trying to get a cartel select committee stood up so that we can battle the cartels in Mexico. I have a 1-year-old. So there's a few other things going on. So, like, sitting down and arguing with Eddie is just not high on my priority list. That's why I dismiss it. I mean, like, that's why. I mean, it's just practical reasons. I mean, it's like this is the one time I'll talk about it on your show, and I'm not going to bother with it anymore. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and Dan, I appreciate you coming on. You didn't have to. You absolutely did not have to. I know John Burke vouched for us, and I know you trust his judgment. And then, again, I appreciate you coming on.
Let the document speak for itself. It's 13 pages. People can look through it, look through the exact timeline of every interaction we had, and you can still think I'm terrible for not just advocating for his release. But again. Try to be objective about that. Like, that's just like advocating for anybody's release. I mean, that's what Democrats do. Like, they're like, just assume that somebody who's accused of murder should be out on bail because, social justice and shit like that. Well, like, Eddie was not a victim of the system. Okay. He was accused by his own guys. And so it's like, it's seal on seal. And you're asking, and you're saying that I should have definitively made a judgment call about who was right, but that's crazy. Like, I'm not on the jury. I'm not in the courtroom.
That's fair.
That's not a congressman's role.
Do you looking back?
And I believed him. Like, I mean, I've never said, well, that guy's a bad war criminal. Like, I've never said that. I mean, he's stupid. He was texting pictures of himself with a knife in the guy's neck.
And he admitted
That's why he got his bird. That's what
he admitted that. He said that was stupid.
I know, but that's extremely stupid. Like, you got yourself into some serious trouble. That's why you got your bird pulled. I mean, it's like, you can't do that kind of stuff. You guys know that.
Yeah.
Like, and like the leadership that you have to be employing to get your guys to turn on you that way. I've done some really sketchy operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. My guys had never turned on me. And I don't know anybody whose guys have turned on them. Like, something else was going on here that nobody talks about.
So was that the suspicion for you? Because you say you believed him, which to most people,
I believe he's not a war criminal, right? Like, I did know. I was like, okay, they for people who don't know the story of this, and correct me if I'm wrong on the details here, but like, yeah, they were in a gun battle. There were some guys that they were shooting at, and they call in close air support. They bombed the building. Some of these ISIS dudes comes out, and still alive. They take them, and then there's some kind of disturbing video to people who probably who've never been to war. Them basically practicing TCCC on them, which is
taboo.
You know what it is,
yeah.
But for the audience, it's you're basically practicing first aid on the guy. It looks gruesome. It looks bad. I don't think it's a war crime, and I would never accuse him of that. But the reality is I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury. I'm not one of his lawyers. And so we had to make judgment calls about what we could do to help him. And that's what we did. And I just think it's extremely surprising and sad, honestly, that I'm being accused of doing the opposite.
That's a fair say.
Like the facts just don't back that up.
Yeah, again, and like I said, I think that the biggest issue is that, you know, you guys are from the same small community, and the biggest issue being from everybody, not me. I'm not telling you I have an issue with it. I'm trying to stay very biased in all this, but the is the fact that you knew in your heart he wasn't a war criminal, and you still didn't vouch for him to get.
I did though, but I did. I put my neck out on the line to get people to sign a letter to get him out of the shitty brig that he was in. Again, you're still misconstruing the facts.
Well, I mean, you did. You did that. I think that people would think that you should get him out completely. Not get him out. You don't have the power to do that. I understand that, but
that's not how it works.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
I understand.
I'm sorry
what he's saying.
People have this idea
right.
of what's right and wrong for the legislative branch to interfere in a UCMJ case. It just doesn't work that way. And you know, and by the way, me thinking he's not a war criminal, that's a little bit more hindsight. At the time, we really didn't know. I mean, we really didn't.
Right.
And you have to take into account the fact that there's multiple SEALs, like I think 4, accusing him of these crimes. And in hindsight, and I go and talk to the team guys who are still active duty about this, like to get a vibe check on like what people think about it at all. And first of all, Eddie does not have the respect inside the active duty community because he trashes the active duty community and they have no way to defend themselves. First of all, the guys who are his accusers are a lot of them still active duty, have very good reputations.
That was brought to my attention. I was told to ask you about that for receipts. Do you have anything proving that he trashes the community? I'm just out of curiosity.
I just thought I've heard him do it. I don't know. Okay. That's me remembering like him talk. I mean, that's one of the reasons they pulled his bird. Like he comes out and just talks trash about the military and what they did to him and all that. And I think that's just from memory.
Yeah.
Your typical SEAL, when I ask him again, your typical still active duty SEAL is like, why does he do that? Why not just take the win? Like you won. Like you escaped quite the charges. Like why not just like start your life over, you know? And I think that's usually the opinion I hear.
Yeah, I think the last thing that has to do with this issue is the Goggin text. Everybody keeps asking us about, you know, what was the deal with the Goggin text where you texted. I've seen it once. I think either you sent it to me or Eddie sent it to me. Someone sent it to me. Where you texted David Goggins about him.
I don't know. Texted David Goggins about Eddie.
About Eddie. It wasn't. It was you just saying you dislike him. Essentially, you really didn't go into detail about anything as far as him being guilty of anything. You just said that kind of your disdain for him in a text to David Goggins.
I don't know. That doesn't sound familiar. Could be. I don't know. We're talking years ago.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. I don't know.
I mean, obviously, don't like Eddie, so that tracks.
He read it and said something about him being a piece of shit.
I don't know.
That was okay. Yeah, it was. Hey man, listen to your Rogan podcast. Good shit. I had no idea about any of the shit that you team guys did, making YouTube videos about all that. Again, sorry if I made it seem like it was ever in that category. I am not. I wouldn't have tried to get you to speak at my events if I didn't respect you and your message. Like you, I've been in the public eye since 2018. I understand very well how people will climb over your back to get higher, get more clicks, get a little bit more famous. Pieces of shit like Eddie Gallagher have tried to do that at my expense after I tried helping him get out of prison. That should never happen between team guys. God bless and Happy New Year. Now, granted, there's no name here. There's no number listed to it. So
no, that's me. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
That sounds right. Like, yeah, that sounds.
But
exactly
he didn't try
like
to get
what
him out
I'm
of prison.
now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So people are
He didn't
asking
try to get him out of prison. He didn't try to get him out of prison.
Yeah, I mean,
that was back when that was back when I was like, the David Goggins story is so weird. I did a whole video on it explaining it from start to finish. It's so strange. So that was back when like I was still trying to like be cool with Goggins, and then he decided we weren't cool like a couple months later or something like that.
But and again, I'm gonna ask this: words matter. In the text, you said you tried to get him out of prison, and here tonight you've said, and you didn't want to get him out. You just wanted him moved. So in that text, you mentioned trying to get him out.
I think you're splitting hairs. I don't think there's a difference. I got him. We were successful in getting him out of the prison he was in, and they put him in. I'm not sure where he was transferred to, but if you don't like that, then yell at Donald Trump.
I'm just saying, in my career, for 23 years, I was a cop, and I can't use words like that out of context. Like, I can't say a guy did X, Y, Z, and then it really meant X, Y, Z, or ABC. So, again, in this message, you say you tried to get him out of prison. You didn't, and that's what the family asked.
But we did. Like, what are you talking about?
Are you talking about to another facility? Is that what your point is? Like, he's saying he got him out to another jail.
No, he didn't get him out of prison. He was still in prison.
Right. Yeah.
The family asked him to get him out of jail. Like, come home to me and your daughter and your son.
I will say this: it is a text from many years ago.
The family can ask for that again. I don't know why we're still relitigating this. Like that, I don't take orders from them. Like I hear what they say, and I'm like, okay, this is what realistically.
But your argument is he's saying I got him out, but he's just using that language like.
Look, I can be a dishonest congressman, like a lot of congressmen were, and say, yeah, we're going to fight for him. You know what? And they sign whatever letter, and then they forget about it. They don't do a damn thing after that. We actually did a shit ton after that. We made sure that there was a media strategy that we would actually get on Trump's radar. We actually put effort into this. I had way more meetings with Eddie's family than any other congressman did. Okay. Like it's just the accusation that we weren't legitimately and in good faith trying to help them is super offensive, which is the only reason I've decided to like make this document for you guys and come on the show and talk about it.
Yep.
Because look, if accuse me of something that's true. For once, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, I didn't yell at there was no little girl I yelled at. Like, just accuse me of something is true for once. And this one just isn't. Like, we tried to help it, and it surprised the hell out of me when he came after me. At the time, the only explanation I could think of was that he just didn't know. Because remember, all of this happened without him knowing. I mean, this was all with his family.
Why not talk to him? And
for whatever reason, they were just pissed. And you can see the emails too about how threatening they got at me just even a couple weeks after meeting them. Like you can see like how his brother like starts threatening us and like with like, it wouldn't look good if you didn't do what we asked. Like it was a really the fact like most congressmen would just stop talking to them. I mean, but we didn't. We're like, look, no, we want to try and help you. Like this is what we've got to do it within the realm of reality.
Yeah.
So is he? So he's saying that he tried to get him out back home with his family. No. Is that what he?
No.
Just okay. Just moved. Okay.
All right, Dan. Well, I mean, I just like you're saying, there's really no. I mean, You're very direct in what you're saying. You have not changed your stance on it. I think that just everybody wants you guys to sit down and want you to hear it. Because you do have good points. And people in our chats are going to fucking hate me for this, but I don't care. You didn't know what you knew, and you had what you had presented in front of you, which was 4 SEALs saying that he committed a war crime. That being said,
I agree.
I wouldn't, if I'm a cop, I wouldn't, just because if everybody came out of the house and said, he just did this to me, and then I placed him into custody, I have to go off of evidence and testimony. And, I can't make the call to just cut the guy because he's a cool dude. I can't.
Exactly. That's exactly.
And I get it. And that's why I'm saying, and there's a flip side to me that if it was a cop, I would be vouching for him to get out of custody completely. But I will also admit that is blind brotherhood. And I'm calling it, and I suffer from it, and I would probably do it. If there was nothing saying that he should stay in, then I would vouch to get him out if it was just flatline, no evidence either way. And I think that's where just everybody has a problem with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but the problem is, and like I told you, we did talk to the command, and they they told us, I don't know if this is in writing, but they told us, like they wouldn't put it in writing because it was still part of the investigation.
Yeah.
Like he had threatened his accusers. When you threaten your accusers, you're not going anywhere.
Did he actually do that?
That's what we were told.
Okay.
That's what we were told. And so that played a big part in how we went about it. But I mean, it just big picture though, civics lesson here. Like it's a different branch of government.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I'm not the DA in a local murder case. Like that's not what we're talking about here.
So yeah, my final question to you is: would you treat another case with NCIS differently now that you've seen the entire? Take your disdain for Eddie out of the picture, and you've seen probably now in your time in politics a couple NCIS cases go. Would you look at one differently now, or would you continue the same? Not continue the same, but would you have the same mindset that you had then? I don't know what I don't know, and I only know what I know.
Of course. My mindset's always going to be, let's do what's realistic and within the bounds of both common sense and the law. And also, let's recognize that we're not part of the judicial branch, whether that's the UCMJ or a civilian court. You know, there's a really... We continue along this really wrong premise in this entire conversation, which is that the legislative branch even has a role here. We don't. I went out of my way to have a role.
You're just saying that all you could have is influence. The
minimal amount. It's actually surprising that we were able to accomplish what we were able to accomplish, to be honest. Because, that's all you have is the ability to ask. That's the separation of powers. That's how this works. So, would I do things differently? I mean, I probably wouldn't even get involved at all because obviously no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, I don't want to say that for sure because every situation is different, but I've seen cases where, you're right. I think NCIS goes too far. You can ruin people's lives by just accusing them of something. I've had friends who had their lives ruined.
We had a guest on. We had a guest on that was getting charged with international drug trafficking for taking testosterone to and from Iraq.
That's bullshit. There's a lot of problems with I think the way that UCMJ operates, and there's a deeper structural problem, and I'm not an expert on it. I'm not a JAG, but it seems. But one of the congressmen who was helping me with this, Guy Roshenthaler, who's now the deputy whip. He was a former Navy JAG. Me and him talked extensively about this and how maybe there's something we should change in the DoD judicial system because this case is one thing. It's a little bit of an extreme case, but there's a lot of other cases where again things just go straight to court martial because commanders have an incentive to instead of doing what a DA would do. So a DA will, and this as a cop, will look at the evidence right away and just throw it out if it's stupid. But that's not what happens in the military.
Yeah.
The commander has the power to do that, but they don't do it because they want to wipe their hands clean of it, right? They want to cover their ass. So they say, just let it go to court and, it'll be settled in court. 99% of the time, the person's innocent. But their life is ruined. This has happened to my friends. That sucks. Now, does that apply to this case? I'm not so sure it does because of this was a unique one. But that's a problem more generally.
All right, Dan. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to bring up? I think we've hit all the questions that we had for you.
You sure? Okay.
I mean, there's more, but I know you said you wanted to come on a podcast to do an episode. Yeah. We want to kind of talk about all of the things that you have stances on and stuff like that on a future date.
Yeah, it can be a much longer conversation. I will. I'll tell you what's true and what isn't. Like you said, it's I'm
gonna find something, Dan, where you're like, that's true. You're gonna say that's true. That's true. I did.
Yeah, and I'll own it, man. I'll own.
You did just own the text to Gallagher. I will say that.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. I don't see anything wrong with that one. That's such a weird story with not Gallagher. That was Goggins, but
Oh yeah, sorry.
I mean, because he texted me this just randomly one day. We never really knew each other. We were kind of knew each other from online, and And then he like texted me one day, like really pissed off because he'd seen this interview I did back in 2020 where I was asked about him, and I gave some kind of answer like, I don't know. I didn't think it was a very negative answer. I went back and looked at it, and I was just reactively said to him, hey, I'm really sorry. Like I wouldn't want to offend you, that kind of thing. Like, I think that's what that text was. Okay. And then like a couple months later, he was obviously not cool with it, even though he said he was, and then just did this like whole tirade against me. At which point, then I like did my video on him, and then as I recall, and maybe my timeline is screwed up because Eddie must have been coming after me already. It sounds like, and so, but that's when Eddie put out that big video. It was right after the Goggins video. So it's the Goggins dispute is just, it's honestly so dumb. If people are interested in it, they can look up my video on YouTube that I did 2 years back on him.
All right. Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth, everyone. Dan, I really appreciate you coming on. Give us your time. I appreciate the healthy debate back and forth. And I look forward to hearing from you in the future.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
All right,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dan.
Dan.
All right, everybody. I hear you in the comments. Holy fucking Christ. Eddie, I could show
They're
you a
going
text
nuts.
right now. Eddie Gallagher is at dinner. He cannot join us. He just texted me and said, you good to come on after him or do you want to wait? Because Eddie wants his own episode. And he said, I can't come on tonight. I'm at a dinner. So therefore, Eddie can't join us. But do you have any super chats that we need to catch up on?
I have no idea.
Let's see.
I have a hard time with that story.
Well, I said so. One,
I
I
have a hard
never
time
thought
with-
I would see you guys pull punches like this. I don't know what punches I didn't pull. I can't just call a guest
I
and
agree with
berate
you.
him.
I agree.
That's why I have Mike and I have Reagan here. You know, they're the ones that debate. It would be wrong of me to call Dan and just start fucking tearing him apart. He could just hang up at any time. and then we're like,
It would have been a
Yeah,
very
it
short
wouldn't-
conversation.
Yeah, it wouldn't go anywhere.
So you got to let someone talk, guys.
Yeah, and again, I agree. You can't just get on them, but from 23 years of interviewing
can.
people, that was nothing but fluff, in my opinion.
yeah, I want your guys' opinion on it.
That was fluff, and I don't disagree with everything, but there was a lot of but. I don't agree with.
I have a really hard time with it right now because I hear what he's saying as far as the seal on seal, but also like I told you guys before we started, I said, we build these guys up to be war fighters and killers, and then we're surprised when they go do it. You know what I mean? Like what kind of mindset do you get? Like, we should advocate for our veterans, but is that Dan's job?
But again, he has the power, and yeah, he can't go just get somebody out, but he's a fucking big influence, man.
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
And he says he doesn't think he committed war crimes. Well, the guy was charged with fucking war crimes. So if you don't think he did it,
then you should say get
and
him
if
out.
you're worried about him threatening, I would threaten my fucking teammates too if I thought they were saying some shit about me that's not true. I would get in their ass. So for him to say he
That's
believes
tampering with witnesses. You can't do that.
well, apparently he can't do anything. But to say he don't think he did what he was in there for.
Yeah.
But you're not going to go all in for him.
Well, what about the argument? So that's a good point. But what about the argument of, okay, if Dan knows, hey, I can't just say release him. If he knows, hey, I can move the goalpost a little bit further to that, and then play the,
I don't think
move it an inch, and then you finally get
added again. Just like a murder investigation, when you're updating the family and somebody lost somebody, or in this case, they're away. I don't think adding the request to have him released changes that.
It doesn't hurt it?
No,
Yeah.
no, and just to say that to me again brings down the credibility of what he said. In my opinion,
Well-
I don't think. Again, I don't understand why you wouldn't ask. And he says he doesn't think he did what he did. He's not a war criminal. Then it's what he was charged with.
Ryan Ashworth with $200, bro. Thank you so much. I don't do anything for show. Puts on eye patch. Ha ha ha. Clown. $200 from Wesley Pruitt. Dan, why did you throw Eddie under the bus? We tried getting that answer. We did everything but ask that exact question, but we asked it in more tactful ways.
Again, and I will say,
Hold on, let me get this one out. This is very Christian of you, Dan, for $100 and Darish. So thank you. Go ahead.
It's a tough spot for you. I get it. And people are hating on you in the comments for not being. It's your show. And you can't just, again, you can't get on here and cuss a guy out, whether you believe him or not. And I think, you have to give him an opportunity to talk.
Well, someone said it's called a three-way call. Absolutely bullshit. I can't call Eddie if he's that fucking
Eddie, we absolutely.
Hold on, mother. Hold on a second.
We spoke to Eddie before. We talked to him, and he's out. He cannot.
Receipts.
And even if we did,
as the kids say, got the receipts.
even if we did, this is
Yeah,
not the venue for two men
to be arguing on a phone
to
call.
talk about two on a phone call, and they're not going to hash out all the details in this venue. They're two grown men. They can get together and make peace if they want.
I just again,
but I will also see, to your point, to take the time to do these few podcasts. Why not just do one with Eddie and mitigate all those? Right. So you're spending more time going on these separate podcasts, like however he views it. So that part I do disagree with. I disagree him let's just squash all of it. Let's have a conversation. If you truly feel the way you feel about like you really think you did everything you could, why not just have the conversation? So you squash all of this and have a heart-to-heart or whatever. So, because now you're spending more time going on these podcasts. And again, we appreciate Dan for coming on, but again, you're spending his argument was time because he's got these budget meetings and budgets to do. But if your argument is time, then just meet with Eddie and do the thing, and the world sees it.
If you want my opinion, that was an ad. That was a paid advertisement for him to say all the stuff he's doing.
Super chats. Airborne Homestead. I'm pretty sure that's Tyler Wright. If you notice, when the text message got brought up, he wanted to move off that topic right away, and his responses to the next messages were, "I don't know."
The Goggins?
Yeah. He did when he goes. I don't think he knew that that's out.
He acted like he didn't even know who it was to at the beginning. He said
he did admit to it, right?
Yeah, and then
he said that was his. Yeah.
And what did he say? So I wanted to get him out of prison. I got him out of prison. He didn't get him out of prison.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was talking about Yes, yeah. He
got him out of prison.
Yeah, he keeps saying I got him out, but just leaving it at that's where I was picking up on what you were saying, just the language he was using. I was just getting him out, like a prison, not completely.
He told him I got him out of prison.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, wait. So,
I was reading back over the documents and then hearing what he says, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I could see how. I didn't have an argument there.
That's me telling you that I did, or a cop story where I did something and it's not quite what I did, but it's almost what I did. And then it comes out, that's not what you did. He never thought that message was going to be seen by anybody. So he tells Doc Goggins, I got him out of prison.
Tried getting him out of prison.
Yeah.
But
he didn't. He asked for him to be moved.
Brent Huberty said, $50. Thanks, brother. Said, y'all going to make Taiwa start drinking again. No. Yeah, I mean,
I think he's got enough power to make noise. When they want something done, and you can't convince me these government people can't make noise.
Do you think it's the role he's in plus the influence, or the role itself minus the influence he has? I
think, again, in that community of what we talked about before the show, that small group of war-fighting guys that are selected and have a mind that not many of us can comprehend, and then they go through things we can't comprehend.
Of course.
That group of guys, he should, in my opinion, should have spent get more knowledge about what happened. I would think, again, that's a very small group of humans.
Yeah.
That's the top tier humans of Americans. Mm-hmm. That's as high as it gets. So again, if we're just first responders, we're a dime a dozen. Right, yeah. But then you get the guys to me that community is so special that I would think, and not illegal, immoral, but I would think I would put more time into that because of how important, how close that group is. Like that to me, I would really want to dig into that and say, if I know one of my guys, a hero, a guy that does things that nobody else can do or even think about, I want to make sure it's right. And now I'm in a position to have that power to look into it. He's not the judge. I get it. He's not a lawyer, but he's in a position to say, man, let's find out what happened. This guy's sitting in fucking worst conditions on earth. Like let's do something for this guy. Like he doesn't again.
But Dan would say back to that. I did. That's
right.
That's what he'll say.
I
That's what he'll say to
don't
that.
agree. I saw what the family asked for, and again, I don't go.
Like
you can't just walk into court and go release my. He killed 10 people, let him out. But
Yeah, but I understand what he's saying to what you're saying, okay? And that is just because the family shows up and says, hey,
Let
you
him
got
out.
to get him out. I mean, every family is going to want somebody out.
All
They're
they
always
ha-
going to think the best of their family.
all he had to do was
You know,
add
how many
that
guys
line.
you know
seen
how
that
many
firsthand being
mamas
cops.
run out the
Yeah.
house?
Yeah.
My baby didn't do it.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
so-
just being
a good point.
objective, just being objective, not
sounds
having a
like-
dog in this hunt.
He just avoided that one thing to take the stand that not only do I think he should be moved, I think he should get out. And it seems like he avoided that.
He did.
But why would he say, I think he should get
No,
out
no,
when
I
he
thi-
doesn't know that he's innocent or guilty?
That's where he should dive in deeper to a guy that is that important to the America. I mean, this is again, you're talking about brotherhood. Our brotherhood is weak.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
are
probably the
these-
weekest.
These
Yeah,
are
yeah.
guys, man. These
Cops,
are they
cop
do
on
the
cop crime
worst,
is worse
the
than-
worst
the highest
people. Yeah,
percentage.
the worst. But again, I'm an outsider. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I look at these guys and see these guys train and the things that they do that are, again, we can't even comprehend.
Yeah.
The conditions these guys just in training go through, let alone real missions. I would put more effort than not to make sure that I definitely knew, especially if I had any influence to get to President Trump or get to somebody important or rally up 30, 40, 50, 60 people to sign something. I would think I would put more effort.
You do
into
everything
that.
you could, is what you're saying.
That's what I,
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
according to his story tonight, that the efforts that he did is what got it to President Trump,
And that's
why
heavily disputed by the family. So again,
That
I'm
is
not.
heavily
Again, I can't get in that. I'm not saying he's a liar.
Yeah,
but I'm
two
just
sides of the
saying that
story.
there is two sides of the story. But then why not talk about it?
Well, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
when
that's
we
where
went
I
over this-
disagree. I strongly disagree.
Save all this time.
Just
Yeah.
make peace. If you've done nothing wrong and they have a wrong perspective of you, at least make one effort to make peace with your brother.
If
One.
I know I can shut you up with facts, I want
Yeah.
to talk to you. Like if you're talking shit about
Yeah.
me and I know I can shut your mouth with facts and I got this document and I got all these facts, I'm going to sit down in front of you and go, just like you're,
I'll fly out tomorrow.
Who you been
Yeah,
texting?
I can see that.
I come with receipts, you
And
know?
I agree
Like
with you on
here's
that
the
point.
receipts.
Yeah.
See, I don't have a big problem with most of what he said about it as being objective, but
I
the
agree.
biggest problem I have is that he's not willing to try to write a story where a significant family has a totally different perspective of the facts, and he's not willing to do it. That is either a character flaw or he's not on the up and
I'm
up.
too busy or I'm doing all these other things or it's
and
not
you're not
big enough of a
important enough?
deal. Come on.
Well, how
That
do you feel
was
about
not
this?
a good move.
How do you feel about the seal on seal comment then? Because from that specific point, I can see if you have two seals and you got four over here and another over here coming at you as a I don't know what it takes to be a
Well,
congressman.
do
So
you
what
guys know
do
what
you do that?
happened?
Because that's your community.
All right,
Both they're all coming at. So what would you?
All right. So Papa Penguin said he has been in Congress for 6 years. Why is anyone surprised he acts like a politician? Even Buddha would have gotten infected by that corruption after 6 years. DC corrupts everything it touches.
I see that.
James De La Cruz says, how many seals does it take to change a light bulb? 6, 1 to do the job, and five to write the book about it. So what had happened is that according to, if you watch episode 70 something with Eddie Gallagher, Eddie ran a strict platoon. Eddie wanted to go out and do SEAL shit. He wanted to go out and find the enemy. Well, his SEAL platoon wanted to work out and chill. Like, why is this guy fucking busting our balls all the time? So he already had a bad relationship with his SEALs because he expected,
They think he was reckless.
So they had
No,
no
not that he was reckless. Is the fact that he was making them work. Almost
Then
like
why would they come out if they didn't think he
almost
was?
like being a sergeant on the road and expecting all your guys to go out there.
or being like we've talked about the generational differences in cops, being a old school go out and get them, and this new generation that's hiding behind their phone, sitting in the car scrolling. So you have like a disconnect maybe of a leader that wants to go do the old school shit, which is, again, that's my opinion, wants to go out and kick ass and take names, and then you got guys that want to hang out.
Has it
and lift.
come out like why those four guys? Because he's innocent, but why would those four SEALs like come together just because they were butthurt over Eddie wanting to go out there and get some or what? Like,
I mean, it's any
what's
other
their-
thing.
They're
Like,
like, hey, we're gonna get Eddie. That what's the motive there? I guess is my question.
Eddie was on the
What-
show here, and he gave his story. And I, from my bad old man memory, is that it's a shit show story that got out of control, and then they couldn't backpedal later on because too much has been said. Too many people.
Yeah.
So it had spread.
the
So then
fish
they had
grew
to,
too
So
big.
then they had to find a fall guy, basically, because I could see that. I mean, we've seen that over history where government, will do some sketchy things, find a fall guy, and
Well, cops do it.
but-
Cops will tell a story where you
I told
made
you
an
cops
arrest.
are the worst. Like we all know.
You
this.
made an arrest.
We all know
You made
this.
an arrest. Next thing you know, he did this, he did that. Next thing you know, the story grows to something borderline like inappropriate,
Yeah.
where maybe it wasn't, and now everybody's fabricated this little, added their own thing, and I heard so and so beat this guy with a flashlight, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So again, it could be like well,
Body cam?
before the body. No, there's no more body cam. But again, I have a hard time.
Yeah, I don't get why they wouldn't just sit down, but
Hold on, real quick. We have to stop. We have to take a break. We are going to stay a little bit later with anybody else that wants to hang out, but we do have to give a shout out to our sponsors. The main sponsor of which, Cloud Defensive, the best in weapons mounted and handheld illumination. Go to clouddefensive.com, put in promo code ANTIHERO15 and get 15% off your tack light, your flashlight, whatever you need. They got it. They're our main sponsor on our lives, and I should have given them a shout out when we started, but of course we were fucking stressed about tech issues. What's new, Drew? So
No,
throw that in there, Drew.
No, I worked
I'm
all
just
night.
joking. I'm
This
just joking
was
with facts.
perfect. I have no idea why there was a problem.
And
Wasn't
then,
on me.
Let's roll the footage of the other sponsors. All right. Hope to see you guys in a minute.
Hey guys, I want to introduce our latest sponsor, Brotherhood Blades. They're made for cops and first responders by cops. They make it the way they do because they know what the job means. Everything is handmade or machined in the USA. Their blades are made to be used and abused because they have some of the best super steels offered. With the use of super steels, general care is limited. You can use it and forget about it without the fear of rusting, something first responders are good at. Lifetime warranties come with every blade that cover pretty much anything other than losing your blade or using it to perform outlandish tasks that you wouldn't usually use the blade for. Probably like using it as a screwdriver, something we've all done. They have a lifetime sharpening. You only pay one-way shipping. If you want to head over to their custom page, your imagination is their limitation. They'll try anything once. They've outfitted numerous teams without blades and have customized the blades to their specifications, including custom lasering, sheath, color schemes, and sheath attachments. Head on over to brotherhoodblades.com and get you one. And by the way, I'm not just a spokesman for them. I'm a customer. I carry theirs every day with me, and I wouldn't be talking about them if I didn't trust their product.
Promo code ANTIHERO10.
Cerakote is what we are known for, but we do a lot more. Howe Arms is a disabled, veteran-owned business specializing in custom firearm creation and gunsmithing. Richard Howe, the company's founder, is a two-tour Army combat veteran of the Afghanistan conflict. After his service, Richard earned his degree in marketing and founded Howe Arms using both the skills from his time in the Army and his college degree. Richard's goal for Howe Arms is to redesign and customize firearms that are both reliable and combat proven. Our entire team is comprised solely of disabled veterans or family members. This is not a self-feature, but a choice to help other veterans transition into civilian life with a purpose and support network.
And we're back.
How much longer?
So we got two more, and then
All right, let's see. We got
chat. What do you
we
think?
Got chat. We got sorry to change the subject. Raven 2-3. Last weekend, 2 Virginia Beach cops were executed during a traffic stop. Prayers and support to the families and first responders.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Fucking
We got hammered
Four
last
cops.
week. Yeah.
Dude,
Terrible.
it seems every week it's
And then, like I mentioned, in Houston, they let a fucking cop killer, Deputy Fernando Escueda, was killed back in July, and they allowed the suspect to bond out of jail, $1 million bond.
That's
we do have
bullshit.
yeah, that's bullshit.
our Patreon winner for the week. Patreon winner for the week, Shane Becker. You are the winner of some Anti-Hero and Refracted Wolf merch and some other merch that we will send your way. We have somebody in the.
Something somewhere.
Go ahead and keep talking. I want to bring something up to everybody, but I gotta find it first.
All right, while you're looking at that, James says the accusers said Eddie was putting them in danger by taking the fight to the enemy.
And that's kind of what I'm going with the cops. Like, you got a sergeant bumping you up to go get after people. These fucking new kids want to sit in the car and do nothing. They want to make fucking TikToks. They don't want to get after it. So again, I don't know anything about it, but if you got a guy
that's good PR.
That's
good PR.
Yeah, especially in that Shady Oak or whatever you're from. But
you were
again,
close.
but again, it's you know, and I don't have any personal knowledge, but if these guys want to hang out and work out, and this guy's going, let's go get ourselves in fucking danger and like go after the enemy.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's what Eddie talked about when he was on the show. Eddie said these guys, they loved their workout routine. They did not like their workout routine interrupted.
And let me tell you.
And what he was asking them to do was getting in the way of their workout team and playing SEAL.
Yeah, and have a fucking sergeant get on the guys that don't want to fucking go out and do anything.
So you convict them of war crimes?
I think it went too far. I think it sounds like it went a little too far.
Like I said,
let's get rid of this dude. It's like,
well, no, I think the story got going, and this guy's a prick. He's a dick. He does this. He does that. Then, he did this. Then he did that. And again, the fish grew. And
I heard that some of the stories Eddie told several years ago about guys get mad at him about a fucking Red Bull or something. He's like, you're mad about here's $20. You know, like you're mad about a Red Bull because I took it out of the fridge. Like
he was innocent, right? He was found innocent.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was found innocent.
He didn't even do it. Somebody else did it.
Drink the Red Bull, bro.
Yeah. So there you go.
We got
like that's a dumb.
Airborne Homestead says, "Bro, Tyler, y'all were too nice." Crenshaw back in December took a screenshot of your show with Brent and put up an IG story talking shit about Eddie Gallagher. I mean, everyone talks shit. In fact, veteran biker was in the comments tonight, said this is nothing but leg humping for Crenshaw. He's been veteran biker has been very vocal about how we handle some of our guests, but veteran biker needs to be wary of a man named Charlie Wilson, who wrote us a very, very, very long email. Still see me how long I'm scrolling?
Yeah, you're
about veteran biker. So let's keep the comments polite.
Can you shed light on?
I'm not going to yet.
It's veteran biker. You better watch that. Dude. That was long. So it's always the loudest ones.
My brain was at capacity before we started.
Yeah, but no, but you made
I'm a fucking
really
dumb
good
cop.
points. Like, but again, to what we started. So when we talked about before the show, like what he's made the headlines for recently, talking about, calling. But when people said Dan Crenshaw calls for the death of Tucker Carlson, that's
bullshit.
ridiculous.
That was bullshit.
If any of our texts got leaked, if any of our audio off camera got leaked, we would all be put in fucking prison, jail,
War
whatever,
crimes.
war crimes,
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay, we'd all be fucked. So,
feels big.
so you can't saying he's calling for the death of Tucker Carlson is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that's insane.
I do believe they did him dirty. I said some
I
wild
agree,
shit.
but
And that now people are going to be wary of them, as they should be.
Well,
if you did that to me here, I would.
That'd be really shitty.
That'd be really shitty.
Yeah, that'd be like
fuck.
You've been mic'd up all night, baby.
like
I would be screwed.
that'd be like me saying all that shit you said about your department earlier.
This is live. Right?
Oh, my bad. He didn't say it. He
John
loves it.
Woolley says
That's not
Copville's
true.
brain is
It's
at
not. I'm just kidding.
capacity. Listen, Copville is the Mike here is the enforcer we needed tonight, because I don't know. Even with Brent here, we could ask pressing questions like I did, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna. Mike pressed him hard. So kudos to you, Copville.
I mean, again,
Yeah, and you weren't like-
you have no, and I think again, I don't care. I'll say it. I think he was lying. I think he was, and when I say lying, I think he was backpedaling. If you
That's your
take
opinion,
any, if you take any cop classes and
I don't want to
read
sue you, so-
technique, okay, he wasn't lying. He was. I think, but again, the way he was, and going back in this. These seem like very direct questions. And if I was in an interview with him over a crime, I would have some deception in my head that I just don't understand.
Well, we were asking was like yes, like when you said it's like yes or no, yes or no, if you want to sit down with them.
Do you want to
Prison. He said, the text, the words matter. You can't say something in the words again. Tucker Carlson, that comment is nothing. That is absolutely. I'm going to kill you later because you said something. Like we all say something like that. But
well, you're in turmoil right now.
I just feel like he again.
I want to remind the chats. I want to remind the chats that just because someone says, "If I was in the room, I'd kill him," is not a death threat to Tucker Carlson.
No.
So
but you know, I didn't want to interrupt him because it wasn't worth it. But I wanted to say when he was like, Eddie Gallagher sent me threatening messages, I was like, whoa, we just defined what threatening meant.
Exactly.
And now you're going to turn. It wasn't worth interrupting him, though.
No. But.
And in the Anti-Hero podcast defense, especially Tyler, some people are just saying that things were too softball. I will tell you, I'm just going to remind everybody, we've already said it once, and that is you come out swinging on a guest, they're gonna bail in 5 minutes, and you won't be able to get their story.
He's
what
right.
we did successfully tonight was get the other side of the story, whether you think it's full of crap or not. We were able to let another guy give his side of the story, and that was successful.
Yeah, we just sit here and call him a liar and yell at him. It's not going to go anywhere. He's going to hang up, and he's still a congressman. I mean, still you don't treat him like a piece of shit. You don't want to, just but. And again, they can say whatever they want, but you have a show to run. It's still a business, and
all of you guys,
you don't want him to come back. Yeah, I mean,
all of you guys challenged him on his answers again and again, and he just stuck with his story, whether it's true or not. Jesus
at some
knows.
point, you're beating a fucking dead horse.
Yeah,
exactly.
He is
yes,
going
you did.
to
No,
say
I didn't. Yes, I did.
Yeah,
what he is going to say,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say, and then I tried to paraphrase for everybody, like, okay, this is what everybody thinks, and clearly you think this way. And I feel like everybody has their mindset's here, and yours is here.
correct.
And that's just
Well, nobody here is going to change their mind either. They've got their opinion.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I've seen a couple people say like, you can't throw fucking logic out the window. Like everybody clearly does not like Dan Crenshaw. He was like, oh, the veteran community, I think vastly is like, no, I think vastly is a good word.
I mean, even in the first responder community. So, but maybe he does have a point to say vast majority, like, or what, I don't know what was my language. Did I say the majority? Maybe I use that. So maybe that was my fault. But any comments I see on any post is negative, at least from what I see. This, I could be completely wrong here, is negative towards him. That's why I was trying to figure out, like, when did this all start? Like, why?
That was a good point. Like, what happened?
What was the beginning?
Yes.
Because I think it was in 2018 when he first came on the scene, if I'm correct. And like, what drove all this publicity? Because I remember seeing him on Joe Rogan and stuff in the beginning.
He was real popular. Like, everybody loved him.
Rose quickly.
Yeah, he
and
looked
then
a fucking eye patch.
Yeah.
It looked cool.
And I don't know. It didn't make sense to, like, what started all the backlash. Like, what, it's one thing. It's always something that seems negative. Like, I don't see things positive. And maybe he does. And maybe he does have a point. All this stuff that's everyone online are always the loudest. But
why him?
It's like when someone. It's like when you have a business and someone wants to get someone to leave a good review.
It's hard as shit.
It's 10 times harder than a bad review. So I don't know. Maybe in that sense, there's some truth. But I will say I don't believe it. And I told you in the beginning too, before people think that I'm advocating for him. I didn't have any arguments against what he was saying. I told you in the beginning, like, we should be advocating for our veterans no matter what. I have a very strict stance on that. Like, Eddie didn't go and like gun down a whole village of families, right?
Defining war crime is what we should have done. Yes.
So, and I said the example with the Marines that hunted down the Taliban that killed their brothers and they pissed on their body and they took pictures. I'm like, I'm cool with that. I don't give a shit. If my buddies got killed, yeah, fuck
no
those
problem
guys.
with it.
Yeah. So, and I remember even, being a young Marine and, not knowing shit. And I remember thinking, why are you guys all mad about that? Like, this is war.
Yeah,
like, bad shit's going to happen. Like they peed on him. That's the worst thing that happened.
And they were already dead.
They were dead. They weren't going to come back a lot. So, and I think they were trying to get those guys for war crimes or something too. So, I think we should, if we make these guys, these elite killers, we can't expect them to be 100% okay when they come back. Like, they've been over there. They think everyone's trying to saw their head off. As you made the point before we started, Mike, is like, everyone's trying to saw your head off. That's your thought. You probably dehumanize people in a certain way because of they poured millions of dollars into you to be a war fighter.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be
Your only job.
Yeah.
Look what
You're
he
a killer.
did. Look what he did. He did TCCC on somebody that was dying. That's although it's taboo to talk about, it is something that's very common.
Yeah.
You practice medical things. It's just like how they do soft medical training on animals. PETA hates that. That's why they got to think of it out at Fort McCall, outside Fort Bragg. Like they have to do it in a remote location because people will protest it but it's the best training. And so why would you let somebody just die right there when you could be like, well, he's going to die anyway. So, that's what it was. It wasn't a war crime, but to most people that's inhumane. And, Walter Everson says Eddie was exonerated. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? It's not hard to plan a three-way call, asked Don Shipley.
Agreed.
There's a lot to that. First off, Eddie was exonerated. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? NCIS plays by their own fucking rules. We've had at least 3 people on the show. John Howard, the Marine. They all have white boy names. He went through a trial, and Eddie, like they all have horror stories about being treated so unfairly, and the Constitution doesn't apply to you with NCIS. So
if there's anybody that the Constitution should automatically apply to, is going to be those guys. I didn't understand that until Eddie's case when he was talking about. He's like, yeah, they'll throw out evidence, they'll leave in evidence that whatever narrative they want to spin. And I don't understand that.
Watch the Eddie Gallagher episode. It's fucking insane.
I don't understand that lot. Like, what are they just trying to? Are they absolutely doing it just to justify their job to get like, hey, we did this, and it could be as meaningless as that. Like we're trying to justify our jobs and our department.
Let me finish this comment. He said it's not hard to plan a 3-way call. I mean, even if Eddie was available, I'm not going to bombard somebody with that. That's just not what you do. And ask Don Shipley. Don Shipley ghosted us when he found out that we hold SEALs to the same level that we hold everybody else to. So we were at one point called a SEAL bashing podcast, which we were not. And Don Shipley was supposed to come on remotely, and then just one day said, I cannot make it. And ghosted us ever since. So Don Shipley also does not want to talk to us.
Someone else in the chats, they brought up a good point. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. And they said, based on how we treat a guest from maybe another side of the argument, how we treat them will determine other guests that we might get in the future or not. Yeah. So, we got to be a good host.
Yeah. And it would be the same thing as having a panel. If I facilitated the debate, I have debaters on each side, but I'm not going to sit there and debate them.
And how naive is it to think that you know everything about what happened and act like you know everything that happened and not let another person genuinely give their side of the story?
I think the point of it is you generate talking points and then people hear his answers and make their decision. Like,
exactly.
You believe me? And again, most people don't believe him, but
you be the judge.
I mean, here's the, you can't just scream at him. It's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of lost me when there couldn't be a straight answer to sit down with Eddie.
Yeah, that was
because this would take half the time to do it, and it would squash all arguments. And if he's truly believes what he believes, so that's the part where he lost me. But again, I don't know anything about sending petitions and letters, and the language that needs to be used, and how that goes, and what real power they have. I imagine it's not nothing, right? It's not.
That dude can get in the same room with the president at some point.
It's something.
He can get near the president.
Some type of influence that he has. I mean, with his showings on podcasts, you could call it just from that level, plus being a congressman. He has weight to his word, I would imagine. So it wouldn't be. I don't see what it would hurt to just say, "Hey, get him home out of prison, not just out of."
Well, somebody brought up in here that getting him out of that. What the brink he was in gave him the shot at the trial that he needed. There's ways to look at it.
So by getting him out of there, that got him the shot.
I don't know.
Why would? So
I
you're
still
just,
don't-
this was the comment.
I still don't see the
What-
reason because again, he's not in the executive. He's not in that branch that's going to be charged with tampering or anything or getting involved. So by him making a stand that he wants him out, he has no bearing on what's going to happen in the criminal case or anything. It's just his words.
And then
Yeah.
this was brought. I talked to Eddie this morning. Had my little coffee with Eddie, and he said that there's something called speech and debate immunity, where politicians are they are granted full immunity and cannot be sued for things that they say. They can literally lie and get away with it. Only politicians, though. So when you have a politician up against somebody that's not a politician,
So they can sue, but you can't sue them.
yeah, you cannot
Really?
sue them for anything they say.
That's
It's called
horseshit.
speech and debate immunity. Plight, I got you, and I will. Once we're off topic, we'll answer that one. I think you, Richard Cuss. I think you guys have Dan Holloway wrong. I think it would be a good guess. Dan hates us because the Drinking Bros. They base all of their. They're big Tim Kennedy and Rob O'Neill guys. Rob O'Neill has a show on the Drinking Bros podcast.
Right.
So when we went after them, they just pretty much called us stupid and they blocked us. So
I thought they were behind y'all at first or something, or like they were okay with it, and then
I
out
mean,
of
when
nowhere
we
they
first called out Rob
right.
O'Neill, they were like, "Hey, let's debate this," and then it like really like, oh shit, and it blew up, and they dropped it. We were still cool with them, and then Dan Holloway said some dumb shit about how SWAT should not have Bearcats. It's too military, and he's like,
shit fire
and
trucks.
he said this. Now, Dan Holloway is a constitutionalist, and he said that the police should not handle if the police need Bearcats and up armored vehicles, they should not be militarized. They need to call in the United States military.
That makes no fucking sense.
to come on U.S.
They're
soil.
too militarized.
Not
Let's
even
call in
allowed.
the military. That's what he said. Oh, that's
So after we called him out on that, we started. It was a breakdown of communication fast.
so you want to actually bring in martial law, right? That's
Break the law, really. You're
Yeah.
not supposed to
So
enforce stuff on our own
let's
soil.
actually bring in the military. Yeah, that'll look good.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
an
Okay.
A10 going down the middle of the street. That looks good. America! Yeah, boom.
Polite Designs asks, "What's a good foot pursuit or jump out boy story that you guys have?"
None.
None. You don't do.
I'm not talking about everybody's roasting me for saying I'm a cop there, man. I'm done.
I thought you held yourself really well.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
you did
done.
great.
No, I mentioned I was a
These
cop
guys-
like
these
twice,
guys are-
and
half these
they're
guys are
fucking
fucking
roasted
retarded
me.
like me, dude. They don't know what they're talking about.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I ate donuts and sat behind a desk. I didn't do anything.
Dude, no. Your episode, you talked a lot. I don't know if you told any jump out boy stories.
Nah.
Foot pursuit stories, man. I'm the worst. I have rolled my ankle severely. So I have video of it. Actually, I'm not supposed to, but I chased a dude, and he was running. He was super slow. And have you ever seen somebody like a lot of criminals cannot run fast?
No.
Black guys can run pretty fast. Young black dudes will smoke you, but your average 40-year-old male can only run about 20 yards before they
done.
collapse.
Yeah.
And
They're
this
done.
guy collapsed on his side, and he put dope in his mouth. So I'm like, spit it out. It was right after George Floyd. I'm like, spit it out. And then I found more. Like when he had pulled it out, he was trying to, and it fell
God.
on the ground. So he had it. So we stood him up, and we're like, spit it out. He swallowed it, and I was
God.
like,
Was
well, I've got the identical bag right here. I had two of them, and you just ate that one, but I'll charge you with tampering. But I have dope anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it was on the hood of my car, and he's standing there handcuffed, and I had an Impala, right? So they're like go-karts. They're low to the ground, and he's standing here handcuffed, crotch up against the tire. And all of a sudden, he sticks his tongue out like a fucking dinosaur and goes, "Ugh," and ate it. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? So everyone's like, spit it out. Luckily, there was
Where's
a
your
third
evidence?
bag. So, but yeah, I never lived that down, man. They fucking.
That's
dude.
hilarious.
But yeah, that's my best foot pursuit story, other than getting smoked a lot.
My very first one, I chased like a 14-year-old black female runaway, and I fell down in the middle of a bank drive-through in front of the entire fucking bank. Just scraped my face, scraped my arms, and she ran away, and I just walk back to my car. That was it.
You won.
You got me.
You won.
It was terrible.
You give her the nod
It
as
was
she runs
terrible.
away,
I mean,
you're
there was a full bank, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
job.
Drive through the bank. She cuts
Respect.
around the bank, and I just eat it right on the parking.
She's running,
stop.
bitch.
Gone. And I'm like, well, and they're.
Respect.
My friend saw you walking through the bank bleeding. I'm like, yeah, that was me.
That was me.
That was me.
How relieved TK must be with the show tonight. I don't know, man. Every time TK comes, everybody says that TK comes back in the limelight somehow. So, you know, I don't think he's ever gonna outrun that one. But we'll
we'd
save
have
that
him
for
on the
another day.
show, and we would be gentlemen, and we'd ask hard questions.
There's a great comment.
We'd have him on the show.
Jerry Worms.
What's
Jerry Worms. See that comment?
What?
He said, scroll back up.
what was it?
Young black males are like Olympians when running for me. That's Jerry Worms. He was the first episode of
Is he in the
Cops.
chat?
That's him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's the OG Jerry Worms, 1989, Broward County.
What's up, dude?
Stop,
he's
or I'll
got a-
stop or I'll shoot you in the back. That's Jerry.
Well, I mean, you used to be able to say like,
Yes.
hey, you're white in a black neighborhood.
He says
You're
it too. He
also
says he
white.
does. He says I'm the only white face that belongs in this neighborhood.
So I actually have a foot race story. I was in Texas, and I was at my parents' house. We're sitting in the living room on a Sunday afternoon after church, and I see this guy looking very suspicious and walking in our front yard. And he starts jogging a little bit. I get up out of the couch, jump off the couch, go out the front door. My wife yells at me, "Don't you be a hero!" And the guy starts running across the street. I run. I'm following him. I'm staying behind trees, and I see there's this Dodge Charger, which looks like a undercover cop, and I'm giving him directions where the guy is. Guy's jumping fences. I'm jumping fences behind him, just keeping an eye on him. But I don't want to get too close. I don't know if he's got a gun or not. But listen, lotion is dropping out of his coat. Cigarettes are falling out of his coat. The detective cuts him off, jumps out of his car, tackles the guy, and I'm there just to watch. And he's just taking out lotto tickets and everything. This guy's like, yeah, my old lady gave me money to go get diapers, and I bought all this stuff. And no, you didn't buy it all. He robbed the CVS.
That's great.
That's my only pursuit story.
Yeah.
Non-cop.
I'm not telling any more cop stories
Pursuit
because
story.
the chat was roasting me.
Oh man,
I'm done.
The chat. There's awesome people in there, and there's shit
I
talkers.
lost my page today, and I'm getting
Reagan.
roasted, man.
No, we love them. We love all of them. We even like you shit talkers out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
Bring
there's
it.
There's a lot of Brent fans in there. The beta Brents, I call them.
What's up?
We're gonna go out. I'm gonna have you guys answer. We're gonna pick an outro song. This is what we do.
A what? An
An outro song?
One more thing. Don't forget, my page got smashed today. So please, if you like Copville, follow at Copville OG. That's the backup page. That's now the primary page.
Yeah, go to our stories. It's in our
Yeah,
stories.
I got fucking zucked.
135,000 to 0.
I got 1,000 today.
Yeah. So now you got your backup
Fucking
account.
Yeah, I'm at
over
40
here.
something
That sucks.
hundred. I'm there.
Dude, if it happened tomorrow,
Yeah, Dan shut me down.
yeah, that's what the rumors would have been. But it
Zuckerberg
happened
got
this
me.
morning.
Whatever.
That
If the
sucks.
backup page goes down, maybe. Backup page. That's now the. Oh boy,
There
What
we
was
go.
that?
that's your back feed.
There it is.
Yeah, but y'all looked awkward as hell. Y'all were like this. Were you squatted down the whole time? Or were you actually sitting?
We were sitting.
You were sitting?
We were sitting on
Oh,
little
okay.
stools.
Okay. Anti-Hero OnlyFans Live. Dude,
Here we
so
are.
if you didn't do a Patreon and you made it an OnlyFans, do you think that would make it more marketable? Like,
I don't know.
subscribe,
It'd be
subscribe to our
pretty gay
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Exactly. It'd be the same thing as Patreon, but if you said,
It's not big enough to see. You wouldn't be able to see it. I promise.
well, it's because you're a cop.
Yeah.
Don't get.
I'm not a
DMCA?
dancing. I'm not a dancing fireman.
You have no proof.
I got proof now.
No. Oh, that'll be good. Yeah, the counterculture episode. When's that one going to come out?
What?
Talking about dancing cops and
Yeah,
dancing
shit,
firefighters.
next week. Yeah.
Ooh, that'll be good.
Is that the one we ut short though? We got to get more
No, we
into
didn't
that.
cut short. We're doing about 30 minute episodes for that. It's
If it abruptly stops,
dude, this guy's a dancing firefighter.
No, that's
that I
not
did
true.
not know.
Yeah.
that is not
The
true.
pouty fire.
Let's go back to reading the comments. Let's go back to reading the comments. These are good.
Pouty face
Pouty
dancer.
face. When's Eddie G? Question mark.
What's the oldest rookie cop you've ever seen?
Oh my God, they're everywhere now. There's
Really?
cops coming out of the academy in their 50s.
Nice.
50s,
I
bro.
thought
Did they stop the
Hey,
36
easy.
or 35
Easy.
year?
That's
I'm
a federal.
I'm
thing.
close to 50.
You can be a local cop.
38 as the feds. You can't
Yeah.
be 38.
Well, you ain't got to do much to be a cop nowadays.
No,
you know,
but
you can't,
I'm
you can't
not
lock
like-
anybody up. You can't do anything.
No.
So, I mean, you guys can all just get fat.
You can hang out with the dancing firemen if you want.
Come by the station when you can play some Halo.
A
Cops
shift
do
eats
it.
B shift food and all that. Is that true? Are those
What is
memes
it?
true? With like the A shift guys eat the B shift's peanut butter and stuff and all that?
I don't know. Allegedly, I eat everyone's cereal, but that's unconfirmed. Saying I'm C shift. so-
www.copvilleog.com is my website, and my new page is at CopvilleOG, and I will be running my own podcast here soon on YouTube.
They said
at
have a
Copville
big
OG.
super chat to save the handlebars.
Has anyone heard Dan's war stories?
Dan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Who's been to war with Dan?
Huh?
Anybody talked about?
I have no idea. I haven't looked
got
into it.
hurt, right?
Well, I know how he lost his eye.
Has anyone grabbed it and ripped it up like fake? You know, it's like
Now,
It's like, oh shit.
So you have a lot of people coming to Eddie's defense. Where's all the Dan defenders?
There ain't no.
there's
Dude, Dan don't
that's
have
what
any
my point
supporters.
was earlier. Like,
Yeah, you were trying to push him. Like, where
what?
is?
I just don't ever see people's defense. So,
Well, he dodged it with that whole like.
but is that really everyone's side, or are they just jumping on the bandwagon too? You know, like that. I was legit trying to.
If people have support,
Figure it out,
the
'cause
supporters
I
jump
don't
in
know.
and defend it as much as anybody. So
Yeah, like I'll always advocate for veterans. You know, like I
a
said,
fi-
Eddie Gallagher's situation. I'm like,
that's a fireman
he
tickler.
shouldn't be he shouldn't be convicted. What do you say?
They're roasting your
Handlebar.
handlebars.
It's the fireman tickler. That's the sad fireman TikTok mustache.
Old news.
Yeah, the insider trading. People are like,
Yeah.
it's public knowledge. He has way more than
Well, if you
24,000.
Google it, it says he's got $330,000
No,
in trades.
it was 313,000. There
Yes.
was one that said 121,000. There was another that said the Newsweek had it where he quoted that he only had 20,000, and then here he said 24,000. So,
And he couldn't have anybody else trading for him, right?
but then
Couldn't call your buddy to buy this when this is going to go, and
Tucker
Tyler
had the guy
buy that.
Tucker had the guy on that was made the whale tracker or whatever, the Nancy Pelosi trade tracker.
the guy-
and
yeah, he's making-
his words is saying that Dan Crenshaw traded just under Nancy Pelosi. Now, again, is that proven? I don't know. I can't see where he's talking about this. You have to go subscribe to his deal or whatever. So, and I did not do that. So those were his words. The guy on Tucker Carlson.
Thank you.
So, but it seems kind of all over the place as far as his insider trading. People were talking about the Meta buy right before, and then him talking about signing the bills to ban TikTok, which is Meta's biggest competitor. So, but
Well,
again, right now I don't have that.
I
We don't have that in front of us.
look for a
you know?
direct answer. One direct.
Yeah.
One. You have no. I'm not insider trading. Like, there's the answer. Not
Yeah.
like, oh, I only have this much. I only have that. Like a lot of those
I
answers
wish
were like,
I was a millionaire.
like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he really answered anything.
I was trying to, I was like still giving him the benefit of the doubt as far as his argument that he's given us, but the stories do kind of seem all over the place. I wish there was like 100%. These are all the trades. This is how much money he has, and
And
I have not
I
seen
will
that.
defend him here. Like,
It's just people on.
you just sit there and tell. I'm not going to tell you how much money I have in the account and back.
That's
No,
what
he's
I
a
said,
poli-
yeah.
So I get that side
Yeah.
of it, but I never felt like one of his answers. I felt good. Like that was a 100%.
It was a politician answer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Never
it's
did I feel
partial truth, not a whole truth.
like. And I'm not saying he's a liar. I'm just saying it was
I got
never.
him out. I got him
This song
out.
is for Crenshaw.
I just never felt like
how does it work? Congressman work like?
I have no
He
idea.
only needs the people in Texas to support
that one
him,
little
right?
district, like
Yeah.
2 counties.
As long as he was there,
Which
everybody
apparently
in the
looks like
fucking
a-
world can hate him. It ain't
Some
gonna
guy was
matter.
talking about how and I haven't confirmed this. He said it's like his district looks like a crescent moon or something. It's like it's the most messed up thing you've seen. So I don't know if that's true.
2 little, yeah. So
yeah,
as long as
he's
those
got a
couple
weird
thousand
district.
people, whoever it is, keep electing him, he's good.
All right, guys, we're out. We're ending the live. Thank you so much. We did 2 Creed songs, a Creed song and a half. Really appreciate the support. Brett will be on next week. It'll be another live. It'll be a good time.